Thank you for staying with us. Donald Trump has won the just concluded 2024 presidential election to emerge as the 47th President of the United States of America. In this report, TVC News' Moyo Thomas analyzes the implication of a Trump win.
In a historic win, President Donald John Trump, 78 years old, is now the president-elect of the United States of America.
This is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom.
The 2024 U.S. election is perhaps one of the most keenly followed elections by the rest of the world. This is because of the global position of the United States and what this win may portend for other countries. President Donald J. Trump says he's going to end the war in the Middle East and Europe, which has raised significant concerns across the world. Immigration policies of President Trump have also raised concerns among global watchers. The concern for Africa is the treatment the region may get from a Trump presidency, especially with the perceived lack of interest in the region. Though a lot has changed in world relations with Africa between President Trump's first term and now, given that many countries are interested in forging a stronger partnership with Africa, it is not certain if President Trump will continue to display a lack of interest in the continent. Some voters share sentiment of a better economic policy from a Trump-led administration. U.S. stock market has already responded in a positive way to his win. But countries like China may not necessarily share the same sentiment, as President Trump in his first tenure stopped exports to the U.S. from China, reducing trade between the two countries. It is not certain if the trade wars will continue. Overall, there are so many uncertainties over U.S. relations with other countries under President Trump, as his policies have always been U.S.-centered in his first term, and he emphasized the same during campaigns leading to yesterday's election. Hopefully, President Trump's belief in the First Amendment will not disrupt democracy in the U.S., which could have serious impact on democracy around the world. Moyo Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
And in a related development, Vice President Kamala Harris urged supporters to accept the 2024 presidential election results and commit to a peaceful transfer of power.
My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting. To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue. And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves, to the poll workers and the local election officials, I thank you all.
Kamala Harris, her concession speech after she was defeated by Donald Trump at the presidential election, just concluded presidential election, where Trump emerged the 47th U.S. president. Well, joining us via Zoom from Belgium is Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke. Collins, good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Veronica, Theophilus, good morning.
Good
Good morning.
All right. We also have joining us via Zoom from the United Kingdom, former chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Alistair Shoyode. Alistair, good morning. It's good to have you join us as well.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Collins, let me begin with you. If you look at the papers, Nigerian papers this morning, newspapers this morning, it's dominating the papers is Trump's return to the White House. And for some persons, it came as a shocker. They didn't expect that he will come, he will win. And I'm wondering if that was the same perspective you had before the election was concluded.
I had always known that anything could happen. It is an election, and I think I'll be thoroughly surprised if discerning minds actually found, the victory of Donald Trump, a surprise, because, anyone who does that will obviously have been missing all the analysis, in the past month, and actually up until, the eve of the election, it had always, been very, very close. When you look at the polls, they were statistically tied. But we also know, going by, his previous two attempts at the presidency. In one case he won, in the other case he didn't, that, polls were so very, very unreliable when it comes specifically to Donald Trump, because of the nature of the person we're talking about here, because of his character, quite a good number of people consider his candidacy as an aberration, something that embarrasses them even when they very much want him to win. And so these are a group of people that were never captured in the polling. So a margin had always been given for such kind of people because they were, identified by pollsters. So I believe that the most objective analysis of the way things were going actually lead towards a Trump win. But of course, Harris was equally a very, very strong candidate. So it's not entirely a surprise, especially also if you look at the global trend of leaning towards, the left, sometimes, right, sometimes the far-right extremist parties globally, occasioned by, hard economic times. Britain was the only exception that recently elected a Labour Party, as opposed to the trend going and sweeping across the entire Europe, including Belgium, my, country where I'm speaking to you from. So, right-wing upsurge, viewing it from a global perspective as well, is a trend. And so Donald Trump's win wasn't entirely a surprise.
Well, in all of this, there have been many questions that have been asked. One of it is, what do you think might happen to the war between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, Donald Trump, he says, he does what he says he's going to do. And so there is no point looking left, right, and center. You just need to look at, clips during his campaign. Of course, he's a man of exaggeration. He actually said that he's going to end the war even before he's sworn in, and it's going to take him just 24 hours. We know that is an exaggeration. So we are waiting to see what he's going to do. But the suspicion, of course, is that because he leans towards, the strong man in Russia, he is want to act in his favor. Now, we, suspect some sort of arm twisting of, Zelensky of Ukraine in terms of, giving up territories to Russia as a means, as a bargaining tool to get Russia to actually stop the war. That is a palpable fear within the European allies. And so it remains wait and see how all of these are going to play out.
All right, let's move over now to Alistair. Before we came to you, Alistair, we played Kamala Harris delivering her concession speech after that election loss. And just to pick out a few things that she said, she mentioned that the light of America's promise will always burn bright, even though the outcome of the election is not what they wanted and it's not what they fought for, not what they voted for. Do you think that Kamala Harris fought well enough, to get this, to get the results she desired? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, America's light burning bright. There are concerns that with a Trump presidency, that might not be the case.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, she spoke very well yesterday to accept that she has been defeated in this election. Going further, she definitely spoken to all the congregation of the United States, all the individual people of the United States, calling all different groups to come together. There is no doubt that she felt bitter about it. Did she fought a good battle? Absolutely, yes. Remember, she has just only been nominated just about 2-3 months ago into the election. Now, of course, many other Americans will feel that even her nomination didn't come the right way as they should have done it within their own party. But nevertheless, we have seen the outcome of the election, and which we know without any doubt that the words of President Donald Trump now is the word that anybody should listen to. Now, in his own speech yesterday as well, one can definitely say it was a total different Donald Trump compared to during the campaign. He was more presidential in his speech, more presidential in the way he recognized people that have supported his campaign to win the election. And at the end of the day, likewise, he was talking to the American people that he really wants to heal the nation as well. He wants to bring people together. He wants to bring the communities together. He wants to recognize that each and every one of the American facets actually voted for him. Over the night, we saw some groups, some nationalities that felt he recognized them, be it African, be it people from the Asian nation, be it people from the Eastern nation, be it people from the Middle East. All of them felt that at least he recognized them by saying thank you to them for voting him. So across the whole board, one can definitely say the voters that voted for President Donald come from different backgrounds, which is the reason why, again, some felt that the Democrats did not really go out to embrace all the other people that felt they have been marginalized. While from the other perspective, people felt that Donald Trump went all across board, not leaving anybody out. And for that reason as well, even places that he was not expected to do well, he won. Other places that he won before actually increased his margin. Places that he was not supposed to, for example, even in New York, he increased his margin and presentation of voters within those regions. So the bigger picture here is, she spoke very well to the American people. The fight continued, and Donald Trump likewise spoke very well to say, hey, I am now the president, and I want to heal the nation and want to look inward to make America great. And with that perspective as well, maybe to other countries outside the United States can feel the impact, just like Mr. Collins says, that he felt that he can stop the war. And I guess maybe within 24 hours, by making a phone call to this country's president, an agreement can be reached, and then the process on how to get to that agreement will be what we have to wait for.
All right, Alistair, let's look at Trump's first as the President of the United States, the 45th President, and he's now the 47th President. Look at his America First agenda. How did that bring about growth in the United States?
Well, really and truly, many economists, without any doubt, felt that during his first time as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, there were massive increase in their economy and their lifestyle compared to during the President Biden's administration. And again, we have to take into account that the process within that period of President Biden being in office, those are the period that the whole global community went through a lot of challenges, especially to do with the COVID, the recovery of the COVID. Many nations, and still up to this minute, are going through it. So that period allowed the Biden administration to face more challenges compared to when President Donald was in office before President Biden. But again, going further now, people absolutely feel that the economy will improve. But inwardly, United States will be looking more inward because he's a man that is promoting America first, America first, America first. And is a man that is saying that he's not going to go to war. He's going to look inward. So for us, especially on the African continent, it's the right time for our leaders likewise to see the golden opportunity. We have to take into account that during the previous administration before his arrival in office, America was not supporting places like Nigeria to secure arms. But during his time is the time that Nigeria were able to purchase arms. So when we look at the global community, global economy, I believe that he will bring that entrepreneurial skill. He will bring that marketing skill because his delivery in this election is more to do with a marketing person who knows what he wants to achieve and goes for it. And at the end of the day, we now have the story that he will be the 47th president of the United States. So it's for us in Africa, African nation, to key to the best opportunity that we can quickly leverage on within this period that he will be in office.
Okay, let's move over now to Collins. Collins, there are so many concerns with regards to the emergence of Trump as president. One of it is if democracy will thrive with Trump. I know our listener is being positive with regards to Trump's approach to things, but there are those who are not seeing it from that window that perhaps Trump might approach things differently this time around, especially with how he campaigned, talking about the wall, talking about immigration, talking about several things, even the economy, how he's going to approach it. There's so many concerns, and talking about his persona, there are those who think that he may not even be portraying America in a good light and democracy in such a way that other countries begin to see reasons why they should sit up. And so the question is, should other countries still be looking up to America as being that democracy that should be emulated with the Trump presidency?
Certainly not, Veronica. America has not shown itself through Trump to be the beacon of hope for the world. Certainly not with somebody as divisive as Donald Trump. Alistair was very spot on when he talked about the acceptance speech of Kamala Harris. We also know that on the last day of campaigning, she actually listed out a litany of ills about Trump and then concluded with a remark, this is not who we are. Americans have shown that they are who Trump is. Felon, molester of women, racist by all standards. And these are not just about what he said during the election. He's had a shot at the presidency, and in that period, he actually, considered Nigeria a Muslim nation and banned, immigrants from, going to the United States from Nigeria and a host of other countries. We also know that, the climate accord, he jettisoned it. We also know that in Iran, he actually stopped, the nuclear deal. The list goes on and on and on. So, the shock wave, we need to use it as a kind of a shock therapy in view of his win, for the world to get set for what is coming, because he has made promises of what he's going to do. Yes, his acceptance speech was statesmanly, but if you notice, Alistair, he was reading from a prompter. Now, once the real thing starts, Trump is not going to remember the prompter. He's going to be himself. And so I think his victory is being analyzed to see what is going to mean for the world. But, the picture is not rosy. However, the hope here is that America has very, very strong institutions. It is now to be seen what kind of appointments he's going to make to those strong, institutions of the U.S. that have made it as strong as it is today. And so where those institutions are actually, going to provide the sort of leverage that people can hope that, Donald Trump will not be able to, accomplish his goal, just like he was unable to actually succeed in the coup, to seize power when he lost the last time. He did attempt, but he failed, and he failed because of the American strong institution. So all hopes are now centered on America's strong institution to save them. The world has absolutely nothing to learn or copy from the United States of America when it comes to politics, as far as this, election cycle is concerned. They should be looking elsewhere.
This is happening now. What will you say of the numerous court cases that has, will I use the word, bedeviled Trump during the campaigns? And of course, you know that he was impeached twice. And so what do you think about the court cases that are still lingering at this time?
Oh, very straightforward. This is the easiest question to answer, Theophilus. He's going to pardon himself, and he's going to pardon all his, cronies who have been convicted of one crime or the other in the last period. So he's going to wipe the slate clean. He's told us during the campaign that, Smith, the prosecutor that is bringing all of these cases, against him, that is leading the case, he's going to, fire him immediately. Donald Trump doesn't say what he's not going to do. Those people are going, and, he will pardon himself. And so, life just continues. And if you consider also that the Supreme Court has actually said in a ruling that is on record, ingrained, that Donald Trump has uncontrollable power as a president to do whatever he wants to do without any repercussion. And so, there are many things to watch and to wait and to see how they play out.
Well, perhaps he will approach things differently this time around. And I was even going to ask you, Collins, that you said countries should look elsewhere aside America as it is right now. And I'm wondering, where should countries be looking at for that exemplary democracy?
Countries like Nigeria should be looking to Belgium. And let me tell you why. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm Belgian, Nigerian. I'm saying this because, to some extent, there is also the ethnic factor in politics, where, in Nigeria is, playing the country apart, tearing it away. The federal system has been managed so very well in such a way that, even after election, when parties are not able to immediately form a coalition, I mean, Belgium is in the Guinness Book of Records for spending the longest period of time negotiating to form a government more than a year after elections. Okay, now, in Nigeria, we can learn something from that in terms of how a federal system can be better managed. Belgium does that very well. And Trump wouldn't have even emerged as a candidate in Belgium because of his crimes and all of that.
All right, let's quickly move over to Alistair to perhaps compare notes with him with regards to this matter of democracy thriving, and if countries should keep looking up to America as that democracy that they can learn from at the end of the day, and also what his emergence mean for countries like Nigeria and every other country in Africa now that we have a person of Trump as president.
Well, looking at the American system, more than 60 million people actually voted before the final day of the election. That is a considerable amount of number of people that voted, more than the people that actually voted in the whole election in Nigeria. So when you look at that system, whereby on the election day, many analysts actually thought that the election result may take up to a week before the final decision to know who is the elected president. That was shattered in the system that the electoral system allowed all the votes to be tallied immediately, submitted immediately. So for me, Nigeria, in her adoption of the electronic voting system and the counting system, should definitely key and learn from this, that it's not about waiting for the electoral empire, the so-called electoral empire, to announce the result. The result can be honestly, in a transparent way, be announced from the polling center all the way to the central unit. So for me, I would really like to see that Nigeria can learn from this way and this system of announcing result and then wait for the umpire. So that's something key. The second point, of course, is likewise that people, as much as all of them were kind of attacking each other, which now become politics, and we have seen it across Africa where opposition and party in office or in power were exchanging words. So there is nothing new in the method and the way that the American system operates. But at the end of the day, the defeated candidate accepted. The victorious candidate spoke. That is another something that we can take away in our own system. Now, will his emergence do well for Nigeria? Well, again, we have to go back to when he was the president, as the fourth and fifth president of the United States, that Nigeria and all the African countries actually gained from what we did not receive on the previous administration before his coming into the office. As I said, our weapons for fighting insecurity, he approved. And all the things as well that this administration of President Joe Biden is actually working with towards supporting Africa is the AGOA Act, supporting African nations to export their product into the United States tax-free. That again may be a challenge now because in his campaign, he was talking about maybe increasing taxes or introducing taxes that will be up to 10% export into the United States. But still, Africa will still gain because he may not want to block and reduce the influence of American system or American governance on the African continent because China is there. All the European nations are coming into Africa. So I don't think he will withdraw, but likewise, at least as a business person, as a new leader, as somebody who may definitely want to prove what has been seen with him as wrong, do well for the African continent.
All right.
So
Well,
on a big scale, we just need to learn and take the opportunity that we can quickly explore.
all right, all right. We'll have to leave the conversation here now. Alistair Shode, former chairman, Nigeria Diaspora, thank you for your time, as well as Collins Nweke, Global Affairs Analyst who joined us from Belgium. Thank you as well for your time on the program.